Welcome back. We are doing our Tuesday spotlights on our fabulous purpose-filled women group. And I have to tell you, I am so thrilled about our guest today. We were just sitting and chatting. And honestly, I'm like, oh, bring up that point. Oh, okay, bring up that point. It's just so wonderful and fun. This is Brit Bennion, and we are so thrilled to have her today. Hi, Brit.
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm very honored to be here.
We love and adore her. And she is a dear friend, and she is also a wonderful colleague, and all the things that we want to do for women and help them to up level and do the things that the Lord wants them to do. So I'm going to give you the official bio. Brit Bennion is a content creation coach, brand photographer, and creator of Brand Builders Bootcamp. Brittany helps creatives gain the visibility they need to stand out in their field and feel confident in their content creation. And so gorgeous. You go to her stuff, I love her style. She helps you take massive action and drop the overwhelm so you can grow your business guilt-free. Loving it already. Brittany is the host of the Pose for Success podcast, teaching entrepreneurs how to market themselves successfully. And she is a DTLC affiliate, which means we love her and we share her stuff. She helps our people with branding and alignment and all those good things. So let's jump right in, because we were just talking about this. Where did you have this draw to help women in business? Because it's huge. Moms everywhere, mompreneurs, moms with a side hustle, for those that desire it, it's not needed, but this desire to be a mom and to say, I can help my family and I can help others. How did this manifest it for you? How did this sort of surface?
You know, I have had the best female role models in my life. So I think it just starts right there, is just being able to know that there's a possibility to do whatever it is that you want. I always harken back to my mother. My mother is such a superhero of mine. And she always had two mantras. And one was be strong. She's a military spouse, and that is totally a different world that you have to be strong in that role. And she taught that to us. She had 4 daughters. So we were surrounded by women. I also would like to attribute some to my father too. He was always so supportive. He would say, it's just us girls. He would just kind of lump himself into that. So having 2 role models that allowed me to be who I was and not be, think that I was othered in any way was really, really important. And then of course, you and I have talked about this, being able to live in the and has been so vital to my journey and my ability to be fulfilled, that I wanted to share that with other women. You can be this and that. You can be a mom and a businesswoman. You can be all of these things. We think that it's either there's an or factor, and I totally do not subscribe to that. I'm all about the and.
Oh, I love that. Oh, I'm all about the and. It's so true. And we have the ability and we have the tools to be able to do that. And I think the biggest challenge is keeping that focus on being a mom. And I was just reading a story from a gal that sent it to me, that she said she had been listening to a speaker, and he talked about, she thought he was going to talk about how to be this amazing speaker. And he talked a lot about keeping your family first, because this stuff will come and go, but success is not success truly without that being first. And I think the joy in what I hear you do and what we do is being able to say you can, like you just said, and then here's the how. This is how you can do it. So jumping in this, and we're going to talk marketing more specifically, but is there one tip or tool that you have found personally for yourself that helps you stay in that space of keeping the mom and first and being able to keep all of these plates spinning?
I think, well, I have so many tools, because I don't think you can do all of the things without tools that actually work for you. One thing that I would say is really just this mental understanding that you are able, right? You're able to do things. Sometimes we think, oh, well, I can't do that, or I couldn't do as much as she does. So you are able, and then B, you have the freedom to choose what works for you. I totally subscribe to the fact that you don't have to do it all, and you shouldn't do it all, and doing more doesn't equal being better. 100% that is the rhetoric that many women are that's put on them, or that they'll just adopt from society or something. And we think, oh, well, she's doing this and this and this and this, which has that and factor in it, but that doesn't mean it's necessarily right. And it's 100% not right for every single person. So for you, if you are finding fulfillment in your life doing one specific thing, whether it's really good or maybe it's not up to the standards that you eventually want it to be, that is okay. Judgment-free zone here at this point in time. You are an individual. And so giving myself that grace and freedom has been super freeing, because for many, many years, I thought if I didn't excel at everything that I said yes to, it meant I was a failure at everything.
Mm.
That's not true at all. And it really comes down to the number one tool that I use is just allowing myself to know this is my life. I get to choose the rules for that life. And that really comes back to, like, if we're wrapping this up, that is the best gift that we've been given. Secondary from the atonement is the ability to have that agency and freedom. And if we truly understand the gift of agency, then it's super, super powerful.
Oh, fantastic. And especially once you get that, we call it the divine downloads, right? Once you get the divine download of what he wants you to do. So often when I'm working with women, they're like, oh, I'm so scared, but I tap into the excited and scared, because that means that you're up leveling and the Lord is trusting you to do something more or deeper or broader or something. It doesn't have to be faster. It just means I'm going to up level you in some way. So I love this idea of this agency of saying, I'm getting this divine download and I have choice of how I go about it, as well as if I do it or not. But I find so often it's the approach that makes the difference of whether or not we do something or don't. Most of the time, I think we can actually do whatever it is that we feel strongly to do, especially if it's a divine download. We know he'll make a way. But I think it's just being open to the approach. And we were talking right before we came on, and we were talking about what are some of those, just, talking about what the reality is of mom, how's it going with mom life and all of that. And you have this beautiful life hack that was something that was pragmatic that has been helping you. And I was thinking about, literally, because today's Valentine's Day, and I thought, I wonder how that's been for her, because she's up on campus right now. She's getting her MBA. And I was thinking, how did that go for you? So can you share what you shared with me?
Yes. Well, so let me just give a little bit of background. So I had an incredibly intense divine download about, oh my gosh, almost 12 months ago, where I needed to go back to school. So I'm a mom of 5 children. I run my own business. I consult with other women, and I have a full plate. and
That's an appetizer and a dessert one.
Yeah, that's right. And my divine download, which was probably one of the most intense things I've ever had in my life, was it is time for you to go back to school. You need to go back to school immediately. And there were some things I was like, oh yeah, this is going to happen down the road. I've got some things that I need to put into place that would make this so much easier, that would better prepare me. And all of that was like, yeah, right, Brittany, that's not happening. It has to happen right now. And now that I'm 12 months into it, I can definitely see the steps that have properly led me and have been guided me to be able to be successful in what I'm doing. But long story short, I decided I was going to go back to school full time. And like, when I say full time, that would be so nice. It's like 12-hour days. I'm gone from my family on campus. It's been the most rigorous, intense thing that I have done to date. And I've dealt with a lot of a guilt over it, because I have to ask for so much help and so much support when I was in that opposite role for like the past 20 years of my life. And I have to be willing to like graciously ask and graciously accept it, which is so difficult as women. So that's like the background of this. But how do I do this? Because now I'm in a space where I still am mom. Like, just because I choose to go back to school doesn't mean that my responsibilities to my children, to my family, to even my business that I'm still operating are gone. And so trying to juggle all of that is interesting. So we were talking about this, and I said that my weekends are dedicated to setting my week up for success. And so that looks like, for me, like, if I'm going to give you some tangibles, what does this look like for me? It means that like all of the laundry is done, and my three younger kids, their clothes are laid out for the entire week by Sunday night. Now, this is not something that I would ever say I've ever done in my life before. Like, usually, like, we're swimming and doing like deep dives into the piles of laundry that like stay on the bottom of my bed for months at a time. But this was something I knew if I wanted to be successful, I had to dedicate time to do this, so that brain space, that like, okay, my kids in the morning, are they ready to go to school? Is this difficult? I don't have to think about that. I don't have to worry about that. We talked specifically about Valentine's. I had my Valentines for my kids. They were already like signed, sealed, delivered in their bags, ready to go. by Saturday, because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that. I didn't have the brain space to do it now. So it's really like understanding how I can prepare ahead of time and work in bulk and batching, which is my methodology of teaching how to create content. If we go into the brand aspect and building your brand, it's all about batching and being able to use your brain space effectively in a time being, so that you don't have to stress out about it for the rest of your life. So that's kind of how my mom hack works with it.
Such a beautiful segue too, because using those business principles that you do in your home life and vice versa. And I find that that's what makes women such effective business leaders, because we take all of those life skills we've learned from our business things or from home stuff and put it right in the business. In fact, there was a study that was done that said one of the best employees are women who have been moms, because when they go into their second phase of life, they've got organization skills, leadership skills. They know how to motivate people that don't want to be motivated. They know how to be time effective. So I think you're exactly right. So let's go into this marketing piece. When you're working with women, marketing is such a huge piece of this divine download of MomAnd, this side hustle or mompreneur or small business, whatever, so corporate, whatever you're doing. This is a big piece, whether you're marketing yourself or your message or a product or service. So what do you see as some of the most, maybe the biggest marketing mistakes that women tend to make? Do you see that kind of a pattern that surfaces to the top?
Well, there's a number of things that I'm thinking of, but the number one thing is that you feel like you have to do it all. And this really is something that we as women, because like I said, we talked about before, sometimes we think we have to do it all. We have to be good at everything. And so we will translate that into our business. As a mompreneur or like small business owner, we wear all of the hats. And so, and we generally, like, here's the deal, like, ladies, y'all have good ideas and they're all amazing and you have the ability to affect change. And so sometimes we're like, okay, I want to do this, and then I want to do this, and I want to do this, and I want to do this. And we don't have a cohesive plan that's going to serve one purpose, one person in one specific way. And so we have these great ideas, and every single one of them is worth diving into and going like down that rabbit hole. But that's not the most effective way for us to be able to give change and have effect in the lives of the people that we really want to. So I would really synthesize it down to being able to be super, super clear and targeted on the exact transformation that you want to have in somebody's life is the biggest problem. If you're not clear on that, then it doesn't really matter how and what else other ideas that you have and how else you want to, like, grow your business or help serve others. For me, I'm all about, like, if you're understanding that your business is actually a service in a way for both the person receiving it and for you as a person, then you're going to be able to grow your business faster and have better change and effect in the world.
That's so true. And I think what I've noticed with working with women for years is this tendency of they want to be so inclusive, but I don't want to leave anybody out, but I want to serve everybody, but I want to help everyone. And in this particular situation, I think it's just so vital. We always talk about the Savior focused on the Galilee, a little bit in Judea, right? But mostly in the Galilee, out of the entire world. But from niching down to that one area, look at what's happened and continues to happen and keeps progressing and keeps multiplying, replenishing, if you will. So I love that concept and not that whole transformation piece. And those that are listening, I would encourage you to consider what specifically you're transforming them to, because so often we have this nebulous, well, I'm going to help them get closer to Christ, or I'm going to help them be able to effectively organize their home. But we don't really bring it down to those specific things that are takeaways that they can walk away with and go, I know how to do X, Y, and Z now. And that's the results. That is, to me, the best marketing, because when they're turning around and talking to their friends and be like, I learned how to do this and do my meal planning in 10 minutes, and it was so fantastic. And that's more of that marketing. Have you seen the same thing?
Absolutely. And if we were to just kind of keep going on with your example, I mean, if somebody, when it comes to understanding your brand and how you can market, there's really, every single business has to do the exact same things. You have to talk to the person who has a problem. Like, what is their problem? You have to understand where they want to end up, that transformation, and your exclusive method of doing that. I was speaking with somebody just the other day, and I relate this to, if you've ever read the Dr. Seuss book, the one about like Sneetches, and now I can't even remember the title.
The Star
But,
Belly Sneetches.
Yeah, the Starbelly Sneetches. Essentially, like you have these people who are going into a machine. They have this persona of who they are before, whether they have a star on their belly or not. They go into a machine, they come out, and they're somebody different. And that's a lot of, like, if you could think of that and how your business works, that's a really great example. So for example, if you're dealing with meal prep, which I know is a huge deal for me. Like I don't prep my meals. I like plan my meals a month at a time. So going back to that batching, like we have it batched out a month at a time. And, but there's so many different ways. Like the person before, the person without a star on their belly is, what are they thinking about? Well, they're like, okay, now I want to be organized. I want to feed my family healthy food. I want to not have to go shopping every single day. So they have all of these problems in what they're thinking. Then they go into this machine, and the person that spits out is like, okay, we sit down and we have a meal a couple times a week or every single day exactly at 5 o'clock. This is all totally not realistic.
We wish, but you have to do together every,
Right.
4 times, 5 times a week. It's good.
But you have this ideal. And how do you do this? Well, like that's the machine of your business. That's your offer. That's your service that you're providing. And there's a million different ways. It could be like you only do frozen meals, or one, you have it catered, or like you go out to eat every single, like there's a million ways. But understanding that transformation, what they want, and then how you provide that service, whether it's like, okay, we've got a one-on-one coaching, and every single day we come on and we tell you exactly how to cook a meal, and you watch the Food Network,
the video, the show, a little man comes to the door with all the things for you, like with a little wand. Yeah.
There's so many different ways, but understanding that you have a unique way to do it. And that is the way that works, and marketing in that way. And then finally discussing about how you bring something unique to that service. If you understand those parts of your business, you have your entire marketing model down, because you just speak to those things over and over and over again. And so it effectively works the same with your family too. You're like, I have a kid who wants to be better at soccer. So, at the end of the day, this is the soccer club that we think is going to be best for them. So, and I'm the best person that's going to be able to find this or take him to soccer club. It works both ways. But if you start thinking about like my life is this, Starbelly Sneetch machine, it's kind of awkward, but you understand, you can visualize it a lot better.
The marketing according to Dr. Seuss.
That's right.
It works. And do you have any experience? Can you think of a client that you've worked with where they came in and they were kind of all over the place, or it's not working, and then you worked them through this model and you saw them make the change, like it actually clicked and they started seeing the difference? Does anyone come to mind?
Oh my goodness. Let me think this one, because maybe this will be helpful. Every single person comes in and is all over the place. And I think that that's helpful to know, because when you're starting a business, or even if you're a couple of years down the road in your business, you may think, I have to know it all. I have to have it all put together before I can start. Or you may say like, I do have it all. Like maybe you have this wonderful business idea, and you've been at it for 3 weeks, and you have dug into the work, and you're like, I've got my message. I know who I'm speaking to. I've got my exact, let me just tell you, you don't. And that's okay, because every single business and every single brand is going to go through a constant refining process. If you're not doing this, please start, because it's going to be important, and that's what keeps your business alive. So I think about, for example, during COVID was such like a great case study for all businesses, because if you weren't willing to reevaluate how you're offering and adapt
and pivot.
I know I don't want to say the pivot word, because I know it's like we're used around,
and people are like, stop it.
But it's so true. And it really brought to light, like, it's not a new concept. Like businesses have had to do this from, the very, very beginning of business. If you weren't able to iterate and adapt and pivot, you just wouldn't survive as a business. I think about, for me in the photography world, like, cameras, like we never think about like, now film has made a comeback, but if you were Kodiak, for example, this business, if you're older, if you're like old millennial and old, you know what Kodiak is. Kodiak was a company that was like one of the biggest producers of photography equipment and cameras and film. They made like a very conscious decision to not move into that digital space.
Mhm.
And instead they really doubled down on producing film, and to their detriment, right? They still are alive. They're still Kodiak, and it's kind of come back a little bit to shoot in film, but it's just another example, like a pre-COVID example, that pivoting is super, super essential. So back to your question about a dear person that I worked with. So this was in COVID times. She was a yoga studio instructor, and all of a sudden, like, she didn't know who she wanted to talk to. She's like, I have this great product. I'm going to do yoga for anybody. And this is wonderful. Everybody needs it, because everybody needs some way to move their body in a loving way. And she was all over the place, but we were able to pare down a couple of things that were super unique to her. Specifically that she wasn't like this Zen yoga person. She like wanted to play rap music and be like a rock star. She wasn't your typical body type for a yoga instructor. I loved it, because I'm always about kind of like, there's some things like, if you have something unique about you, let's double down and capitalize on that. And so we were able to dig into this, and she found this group, this body of people who were not being served, that wanted to be able to, they didn't feel like they fit in a typical like spa meditative yoga studio. They were able to figure out something that felt like it would serve them, and it was really good. So that was one thing that was a great example of that.
So fantastic. And we talk about that a lot, of finding your unique fingerprint, finding the thing that is signature you, that you can share, because the genres and the categories are so familiar, and there are millions and millions of people in any of these categories. But that's the thing that steps out. It's kind of like the Little Prince, and that rose was his rose, right? It's your rose. It's you that makes it so signature, with the marketing aspect especially. I have loved this, and I know we're wrapping up our time. We could talk forever.
That's our problem.
That's our problem. Like, we have to put a timer on it. So I know women listening are going to want to reach out and know about branding and alignment and consults and a consultation of how can I figure out what all of these things are. So what's the best way for them to reach you?
Oh, thank you. The best way to get a hold of me is through my website, which is just britbennion.com, Brit with 1 T. There you'll be able to find any services that I offer, and be able to work with me, whether or not it's anything from this one-on-one discussion where we can do consults and really dig into those deep things for your business. Or if you want to be a little bit more anonymous and do a course, I've got online courses for you to be able to do that at your own pace. And of course, working directly one-on-one with me in a photography content creation state. I also do that as well.
Oh, and gorgeous stuff. And that's Bennion, Bennion, right?
Yes.
Yep. Just want to make sure 1 T for Brit, and then that's how you do the Bennion. So beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this great stuff. And as always, if you have questions or thoughts, put them down below and we can check them out and answer them so that you get those things taken care of. And if you love this, check out our other Tuesday Facebook spotlights. That's what we're here to do, is to help you on your journey. We want to help you take the next right step in your purpose-filled life.